Let's look at this next example. It says the length of a rectangular piece of sheet metal must be 2 inches longer than the width. Find the exact dimensions that will provide an area of 120 square inches. So first thing I'm going to draw a rectangle, and we're told that the length must be 2 inches longer than the width. So again, I start with the width because it's the length that's changed based on the width, and the length is 2 inches longer than the width. So I take the width and add 2 inches to it. So that's the first thing, is draw a picture and label the two sides based on the information. Now I go to the fact that it tells me area, and I'm going to write down the formula for area of a rectangle, and that's length times width, and I'm going to fill in what I know. I know the area is 120, or I want it to be 120, and I need to know what these dimensions need to be in order to get that. So I'm going to plug in my W plus 2 and my W for length and width. I'm going to put the W first just because it makes distributing easier, and then the W plus 2. Okay, so length times width. Now, in order to solve, we have to set this equal to 0, but first I need to distribute this W through my parentheses. So let's go ahead and do that, and I get 120 equals W times W is W squared, W times 2 is 2W. Okay, so we now have the quadratic W squared, W, and the number, so it needs to be set equal to 0 so I can factor. So I'm going to subtract 120 from both sides. These cancel, and I get W squared plus 2W minus 120 equals 0. Okay, so now we need to factor. The first term is W. I know my signs are opposite because it has to multiply to be a negative 120. So you need two numbers that multiply to be negative 120 and add to be 2. And so obviously would not start with dividing 120 by 2 because that's just too big of a gap, and you need it to add to be 2. So you can try different numbers. So you could try 120 divided by 4, and that's still way too different. You could try 12, and right there you get 12 times 10, and you have two numbers that you can work the signs so that they add to be 2. So you need a positive 12 and a negative 10. That'll multiply to be negative 120 and add to be a positive 2. So now that you have your two factors that multiply to be 0, you set both of those factors equal to 0 and solve for W, which stands for your width. Okay, so over here I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and on this one I'm going to add 10 to both sides. I get W equals negative 12, and then over here I get W equals 10. Okay, we cannot have a negative width, so again in this applied problem that negative answer doesn't make sense. So it would be W equals 10, and our units are inches, so make sure you include that. Now be careful, it said find the exact dimension, so I found the width, but we also have to find the length. And remember, the length is just, according to right here, 2 inches more. So just add 2 to your 10 and you get 12 inches. So your length is 12 and your width is 10.